Right. I see a lot of people joining us today. So I'm so glad that you all are here. And so good afternoon to all of our new Seawolves, our families and supporters. We are so glad that you are joining us today for today's session on paying for college, a super relevant topic for all of us here at Stony Brook University. And during this session, we have representation from Student Financial Services as well as financial aid. These are going to be your best friends here at Stony Brook, so get to know these faces on this webinar. To start off this session, we're going to hear a little bit from each of our panelists. And from there, we're going to open the floor up for your questions. This is really totally about y'all. I'm sure you all came in with some burning questions, and we want you to only leave with answers today, or at least a follow-up email address so that you can get your questions answered. So the session is being recorded, and access to the recording will be available on the same page that you logged into. And so feel free to submit your questions throughout the session. And we have both our professional staff members here available to answer, as well as 3 of our PALs, our peer assistant leaders. If you haven't had the chance to meet them yet, they're phenomenal. So we have Poojan, Abby, and Rebecca here today to help answer things from the student perspective. And if you still have any lingering questions when things are over, we'll make sure that you have the proper contact info going forward. So without further ado, why don't we kick things off with Student Financial Services?
Hello, thank you, Emily. My name is Eric Anderson. I'm the Bursar and Director of Student Accounts. I'm going to share my screen. And you should be seeing a PowerPoint presentation at this point. Okay, so Student Financial Services, who we are, what we do, where we're located. We are on the 2nd floor of the Stony Brook Union, Suite 207. We post charges to your student account. We process New York residency appeals. We process payments. We issue refund checks. We also issue parking passes in this office. Campus card is also located in our suite. So Suite 207, you'll be able to pay your bill, ask questions about your account, receive your campus card, and receive your parking pass if you are able to get one as a new student. On to the money, tuition and fees, room and board. So for an in-state undergraduate, tuition and fees run about $5,069.90 for the year. These are the 2020-2021 charges. The following year, or the incoming year for your class, those rates will be available mid to end of this month. And then we are going to be issuing invoices early July. So these rates are likely to change. They change every year. Room and board, $7,700 and change for the year. That was for 2020, 2021. If you are an out-of-state undergraduate, the tuition and fee rates do change. The tuition rate mainly is different for out-of-state students. It's considerably higher. So if you are billed at an out-of-state rate and you believe you are a New York State resident, you can appeal your residency status through my office, and the forms are on our website. So first and foremost, this is your student account, regardless of who is paying your bill for you. It is your account. You are creating a financial contract with the university, regardless of who pays. Bills are sent to your @stonybrook.edu email account. They are due August 15th. If you are registered for classes or a room or meal plan prior to the July invoice, they'll be due August 15th. Mainly, look at the billing notification email. It will tell you when your bill is due. You can also create delegated user accounts for up to 10 family members, friends, contacts, anyone that is going to be involved in paying the bill with you. They should be a delegated user. And down here, we have a sample billing notification email. This is pretty generic. It is addressed to you, again, to your Stony Brook email account. It tells you how much, in general, it tells you when the bill is due. It tells you how to go access your bill and how to pay it. It also tells you if you're going to be withdrawing or changing your status. There's some things that you should be aware of. And then there's links to the Solar, your Solar page, and to the Bursar webpage. So moving on, again, this is your account. So emails are sent to your Stony Brook email address. We also send Solar messages to your Solar account, which you will see on the top left-hand side of your Solar account when you log in. These messages contain brief instructions or information about your holds. And if you do get a refund, you will get a notice as a Solar message that a refund has been issued and sent to your bank account. And it also appears here in the Solar message system. If you do have a hold for a reason, it'll appear in the same area, top left-hand side. You're going to want to click the View Details button on that hold so you can see the full message. The message will tell you what office you have to contact to resolve that hold. And most of the things that have to do with my office are under campus financial services. You have account information and payment, financial aid, which is the office you'll be hearing from in a moment. And then you also have enroll and direct deposit, which we'll get to in a minute. So delegated users. These are people that, again, have a vested interest in your financial health as a student, if they're going to be paying your bill, if they want to know that your bill is paid, if they want to see what your charges are. Now, because we send bills to your Stony Brook email address, you might want to delegate access to certain people because they will also get a billing notification email when we send it out. So if you have a parent, a friend, a family member who wants to see a copy of that bill, you don't have to forward them a copy of it. They can get their own as delegated users. They can access the invoices. They can view the tuition and fee charges, pay deposits, make payments. Also, most importantly, they can make payments for you and they log in with their own ID and password. Now, some students always ask the question, if they get their ID and password, what are they able to see on my Solar account? The answer is only the financials, only the tuition and fees. They can't see your grades, they can't see your holds, they can't see health and center information. It's just the tuition and fees and making payments for those charges. So again, they get their own billing notification emails and they will be notified if an invoice is ready or past due. To delegate access to someone, you would log into your Solar account. On the top right-hand side of that page, click Share My Information, delegate access to a new contact, and then there's about 3 or 4 steps from there. It's very simple. And again, you can have up to 10 delegated users. So paying for college. It's very important you sit down and talk about money with a family member, a mentor, or a friend. This can be a big decision, can be a big confusing time. Paying for college is unlike paying for anything else that you're going to experience. You should definitely complete a FAFSA. Check your to-do list on Solar. You'll hear more about these items in a few minutes. And I advise every student to create a plan for each semester. Costs can increase each year, and they most likely will. So the amount you're going to pay this coming year is not going to be what you're going to pay when you're graduating. So you should have a plan for each semester. Look for scholarship opportunities. That's part of that plan. You should have funding sources lined up and ready to go. And if you're going to be working while you're a student here, will your schedule permit a part-time job? On-campus jobs go very quickly. So if you don't get an on-campus job, are you able to get a job off campus? Are you able to get to that job? All important things to consider when paying for college. So your bill. In general, charges will appear within 48 hours of registering for classes. That is if we are generating charges at that time. So if you're signing up for classes now, you're not going to see charges. After July 10th, 11th, 12th, around that time, then the bills will be live. You'll get a billing notification email, as I said, to your stonybrook.edu email account. If you sign up for classes after July 10th, you're going to see those charges within 48 hours of registering. So payment is due by the due date specified on your billing notification email. Just because you sign up for classes does not necessarily mean the bill is due right away. You're going to get an email, consult that for the due date. Now, you have a few options. You can pay the bill in full by the due date, or you can sign up for the time option payment plan, which is 3 or 4 equal installments, depending on when you sign up for it. So if you sign up before the August 15th due date, there will be 4 equal installments, August, September, October, November, always due on the 15th. There's a one-time $50 enrollment fee. It is non-refundable. If you miss a payment in the time option payment plan, you will be removed, and then holds and late fees will go on your account as a result of that. So it's very important. Don't miss the 15th due date. And you can't schedule payments, so you will need to go in and pay every month by the 15th or have your delegated user pay by the 15th. So what happens if you can't pay? Not just in top, but if you can't pay your bill in general, you will be permitted to finish out the semester. However, you will not be allowed to enroll in the next term or get a transcript or a diploma, and collections activity begins. We never like to send students to collections. It's the last resort. There are many steps preceding that. However, we need to make sure all students are aware that there are consequences for non-payment. Very important, don't wait, talk to us. We're here to help. I have an entire office who is here to be a resource to you as students. So if you are experiencing financial difficulty, you should reach out to us, and we might be able to offer advice or look for resources and help you along that path. Don't wait, don't ignore the problem, talk to us early and often. Tuition liability calendars. Now, this calendar here towards the bottom of the slide is for the summer. It will be updated for the fall in the next few weeks. Now, what is tuition liability? Per SUNY policy, students who withdraw from a class may incur tuition liability based on the date of withdrawal. The tuition liability calendar is available on the Student Financial Services website. So if you drop below full time, you might be liable for a certain percentage up to 100% of the cost of those classes that you withdrew from. If you have questions or you're planning about withdrawing or dropping below full-time enrollment, feel free to call us. We will tell you what you might owe if you drop those classes. So making your payment. Payments can be made via your Solar account. We also accept credit, debit, and e-check. You can mail the payments to Student Financial Services. We have our own dedicated post office box. It's 619 Stony Brook, New York, 11790. We accept debit and credit card payments at our service counter, which again, second floor of the Union, Suite 207. We do not accept cash payments. So if you are only able to pay in cash, there's no other option available to you, feel free to reach out to us and we will explore options, but we do not accept cash payments. And then the university is aware some students may experience difficulties making payments or deposits using Google Chrome or Safari. For those of you students who have made a deposit already for tuition, housing, or orientation, you might have experienced that. We do apologize for how frustrating this might be. Unfortunately, it's not an error that has originated on campus. It's with the web browsers and updates that they have made. We've spent the last several months working with our providers to try to resolve this issue. We're hopeful that it will be resolved prior to the August 15th due date. However, if it is not resolved, we have found that many students are able to make a payment or deposit using Chrome, Safari, feel free, or they're experiencing issues with Chrome, Safari. They had success using Microsoft Explorer, Edge, or Mozilla Firefox. If you have questions about this, call our office or live chat with us. We will be able to help you. You might also need to clear your cookies or your browser cache. There are instructions on our website under the FAQ page. Again, we apologize for how confusing and frustrating this may be. We are actively working on it with our vendors. Okay, so next steps. You're going to sign up for classes. You're going to create delegated users if you choose to. You're going to receive an invoice and review the billing notification email that is sent to your stonybrook.edu email address and pay the invoice or sign up for TOP, time option payment plan, by the due date. And you can direct any questions to the Student Financial Services office. If you have questions about the bill itself, the charges that are on the bill, you can contact student billing at stonybrook.edu, phone number 632-2455. If you have questions about paying or refunds, refund is when you have more financial aid than you need to pay the bill. It'll be sent as a refund to you. Or if you happen to withdraw and you have credit, that can be sent to bursar@stonybrook.edu. I advise every student to, before they email us, try and live chat a staff member. We are available Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 3:45 p.m. If you go to stonybrook.edu/SFS, Student Financial Services, and then click on the live chat link on the top right, a little window will pop up between the hours of 9 a.m. and 3:45 p.m. and you will be able to chat with a staff member. That concludes my slides. I don't see any questions in chat. So if there are no questions, or if I'm missing them somehow, feel free to email us or live chat us or type in the questions now. Otherwise, that concludes the Student Financial Services portion of this presentation. Thank you.
Thank you so much. For our students that are on this call, Poojan, Rebecca, and Abby, if you have any experiences working with Eric in the bursar's office, feel free to share your experiences for the students and families on our call today.
I know Student Financial Services is really helpful. A lot of them, they have a lot of resources. Students might not know about it. So if you think that you will ever be in need of the resources, just reach out to them. Even if you don't know what exactly those resources may be, just send an email to their email, and then they at least get the process started so that they can connect you to appropriate resources afterwards. But I can definitely attest that they're definitely helpful. And yeah, you just have to reach out first.
I am seeing some questions in the Q&A, and I'll read them as I answer them so everyone can benefit from this. If you wanted to request more subsidized, unsubsidized loans, what should you do? First, let's listen to financial aid because they should be able to answer that question. We do get some crossover between offices because we answer a lot of each other's questions sometimes. How do we get the Excelsior Scholarship Program money? That is a really good question. Again, more financial aid than student financial services, but you're going to need to apply for Excelsior. And if you are awarded, it's kind of taken care of behind the scenes. You will see it on your student account. When do we begin to register for class? If we are a first-year student, I would defer to the orientation pals. Solar says my tuition is around $10,000, even though I'm an in-state student. Is that a mistake? No, not necessarily. It depends on what you signed up for. So if you have signed up for classes, you shouldn't be receiving anything on your Solar because we haven't billed anyone yet. So I'm not sure what you're looking at on Solar that says your bill is $10,000. Feel free to email studentbilling@stonybrook.edu. We have not posted charges for the fall term yet. So if anything on there says 10,000, I'd really like to know what it is. Feel free to screenshot what you're looking at and send it to studentbilling@stonybrook.edu. Moving down, I have a question. Whenever I try to reset my Solar password, it won't let me despite completing the 2 confirmation things like question and phone number. I'm kind of at a loss with this, but in most situations, we send students off to Do It, which is the IT department. They also have a live chat feature, so they can hopefully help you out while you're sitting at your computer and answer any questions about your Solar ID and password. Next question. If you meet the qualifications for Excelsior Scholarship, are you guaranteed the scholarship? I will defer to financial aid because Excelsior can be a very tricky topic to answer questions on. When is orientation in person? I love deferring to other people. I will defer to the PALs on the call. And I think that's all of them.
Awesome. That was great rapid fire. As you continue to come up with questions, everyone at home, feel free to drop those in the Q&A. Like was pointed out, the offices both answer each other's questions. So even if we're not in that current presentation, we'll make sure to get around to your questions. We also have a tab under the Q&A that says answered. So if you're looking for the more in-depth answer, I know financial aid's been going through and responding to some of these while we've been presenting. So feel free to read through those. And we drop the student billing email in the chat as well. So you can feel free to reach out with more personalized questions. So thank you so much for that presentation from Student Financial Services. We are now ready to move on to financial aid.
Thank you, Emily. So my name is Lindsay Johnson. I am from the Office of Financial Aid and Scholarship Services. Just share my screen real fast. So yes, as I mentioned, I am one of the senior financial aid advisors here at Stony Brook Financial Aid. So we are also located in the union right next to Student Financial Services. So we kind of answer each other's questions as mentioned, but we're right next door. So it's kind of like a one-stop shop. So I'm just going to go over quickly. A lot of you have probably completed this process. So you're probably up to the more of the anticipated aid section, but I figured it's best to go over kind of the financial aid process because the October 1st deadline, or October 1st is coming up, which is when you can actually start completing the FAFSA form for the 2022-23 academic year. So I do like to kind of start with the whole process so you kind of have an idea. So most of you have already completed the FAFSA form. It's really important to remember that that has to be done every academic year. We do have a priority deadline of February 15th. That's kind of to see, so we can see what kind of campus-based funding you may be eligible for. So we highly advise that you submit your documentation as far as FAFSA as soon as possible. For those of you who are on the presentation today that are New York residents, you want to make sure you complete your TAP application. Make sure that you have put Stony Brook school code on there. When you complete the TAP application, you will notice it only allows you to put one school code on there. It does take the first New York school that you list on your FAFSA form. So you may want to just go back in and make sure the TAP application is there. Right now, you probably only see an estimate on your financial aid award notification. Those actual amounts that come from HESC should be posted shortly. So just keep in touch with that. Once you do your FAFSA form, you will receive a confirmation from our office letting you know that we received it, letting you know what our next steps are. And then from there, it is highly, highly, highly suggested that you check your to-do list item and keep checking your to-do list items. That is, as Eric mentioned before, that is one of the reasons why some students may call our office as far as financial aid not being posted on their Solar account, or if they're missing their notifications, it's because there's an outstanding to-do list. At this point, if you, as a new student, new transfer student, if you have not received a notification from us, but you did your FAFSA form back in October, back in February, back in January, and you have not received a notification from us, check your to-do list item, check to see if there's anything missing there, because generally if there's something there, we cannot process it. We cannot process your FAFSA without the documentation. From there, award notifications are sent. We do not mail the notifications home. They get sent to the student's email address as a SUNY award letter. And then we also post it as a solar to-do list item, letting you know what age you're eligible for. So at this point, you should have seen that on your solar account. Eric had mentioned before, once the billing statements are processed, you will have your statement and it will list whatever anticipated age you are expected to receive. It's really important that you take a look at the disbursement dates of the anticipated age, check to see if there's any estimated amounts. As I mentioned before, if you have an estimated TAP amount on your award letter, that's not going to show as anticipated age. So you want to make sure you take care of that prior to the bills being posted. And then from there, the financial aid, does get dispersed. You will notice on your solar account that there are estimated disbursement dates. So keep an eye out on that to see when your aid is scheduled to disperse. As mentioned before, it all starts with the FAFSA form. You want to make sure that you're completing that process every academic year. As mentioned, October 1st is the upcoming application for next year. You have your priority deadline of February 15th. For those, when you are completing, we do want to make sure everyone is aware that it's ideal that you use the data retrieval tool if possible. This avoids errors being made, and when it comes time for being selected for verification, it's one less documentation that you have to submit. And then once you complete your FAFSA form, you do get what's called an expected family contribution, and that's going to determine what kind of federal aid you are eligible for. For New York State residents, as I mentioned before, the TAP application is really important that you complete that. Here's also where you will be able to apply for the Excelsior Scholarship. The application deadline for Excelsior is August 31st, so please make sure that if you have not applied for it yet, please make sure that you do that prior to that deadline. It is a hard deadline. HES does not go, they don't stretch. So you want to make sure you get that in as soon as possible. If you are having issues, getting the application right on their homepage, the Higher Education Services Corporation website, they do have a place where you can set up an appointment and speak with a HESC advisor. So I would advise if you're having issues getting the Excelsior application to do that. So we get a lot of questions as far as what is financial aid, and it's really important to know that financial aid is made up of money that does not need to be repaid, money that needs to be repaid, and self-help aid. So that basically breaks down to grants, scholarships, loans, and federal work study. So your grants are typically for students who demonstrate some form of financial need. As I mentioned before, the Pell Grant is determined by your EFC, so your expected family contribution, and it's based on the data that you reported on your FAFSA application. So we are understanding that COVID happened and that there are lots of changes and situations. So we would advise that students take a look at our website. We do have a special circumstances section. It does tell you that we will start looking at those applications, the request for reevaluation starting July 1st. So take a look there. We can put the form on the student's solar account, but it does not start until after July 1st. And the reason that we do that is because we use the estimated income that the family is going to have during that academic year. And the academic year for the financial aid runs from July 1 of 2021 to June 30th of 2022. Let's see what else we got. So you have scholarships, as I mentioned before, which are based on some merit alone, special talents such as athletic scholarships. A lot of questions we get are the federal loans. So there is subsidized, which is the one where the government is paying the interest while you're in school. And the current interest rate, they just came out for the 2021-22 academic year is 3.73%. And that it runs the same for the unsubsidized loan. The difference between the subsidized and unsubsidized loan is one, subsidized is the need-based loan, unsubsidized, all students do get. And that is the one where the government is not paying the interest while you're in school. And then there are private loans that students can take out. I will go into kind of where you can find that on our website shortly. And then there's Parent Plus loans. I'll go into that as well when I'm talking about filling the gap. For those of you who are offered federal work study on your award package, it is considered campus-based funding. So unfortunately, we cannot offer it to all of our students. But if it was offered to you on your award letter, you would contact the Career Center, look on their website, look for all the different positions that are out there. Once a position is secured based on your hours worked, you're basically paid in the form of a biweekly paycheck. So how do we communicate with you? Our office, if we are sending you a communication, it is important that you read it. We do not send out notifications just for the fun of it. They're out there so you know that there is some action that you need to take. So in order for your financial aid to either be packaged, for your financial aid to be dispersed, there's something that you need to do when we send you those communications. So one place that you can definitely always look, and we suggest that you check on a weekly basis, are your solar to-do lists. So you want to keep in touch with that solar to-do list items. So as in, it's right here. And then you can click on the detail and it kind of tells you what you need to do. If there's anything that you need to be uploaded directly to solar, you can upload it and it comes directly to our office. Some of the to-do list items, we have a video on this, so I'm not going to go into too much detail, but the different actions, you want to make sure that you kind of read what they are. Not receive means that obviously you need to take action. Receive means that we got it. We just got to look at it. Active, same things, mean that we got it. We're looking at it. You may have another open item, so take a look at your solar to-do. Make sure there's no initiated items. And then notified definitely means take a look right away. We're letting you know that there's something that's not right with your financial aid. Eric had mentioned before, student accounts is your university account is maintained by the Student Financial Services. It's under account summary, what do I owe? You can look there. Financial aid is either anticipated or expected to disperse. So that's where you want to keep in touch with. So when you do get your billing statements, you'll see that there's anticipated, and most of that anticipated aid should move to the financial aid disbursements on your account based on the disbursement date. And Eric mentioned that you're responsible for ensuring your university bill is paid on time each semester. So one of the main questions that we do get is when your financial aid is not enough to cover your expenses that you may incur while attending classes. So basically on our website, we have information that's designed to assist you in determining these options. And so you want to understand that your budget, so what some people may see is their cost of attendance. And so your cost of attendance is made up of two different categories. So you have your direct costs, which are going to be paid directly to the university. Those are going to be like your tuition, your fees, your room and your board if you're living on campus. Your indirect costs, those can vary, but they can be your book. They're going to be your books, your educational expenses, transportation that you may have going to and from school. So what are these options that you have as far as covering this? So one is paying in full. Another one, as Eric mentioned, is the time option payment plan. The Parent Plus loan is another option that parents of dependent students have, and it's a loan that is based on the parent's credit, and it is, you would apply on the studentaid.gov website, and based on that, you can apply up to the student's cost of attendance. The interest rate for that loan is a 6.28%. So we would advise if you wanted to take a look and apply for that, you can go to studentaid.gov. There are options for students if the parents happen to get denied for that Parent Plus loan. I do suggest that you take a look at our website. We do have the link on our webpage. And then students can also apply for what's called a private educational loan. And that is a loan that's in the student's name, but it's a private entity. So it's not through the Department of Education. On our website, we have a preferred lender list, I would say. We've gone through, these are lenders that we've worked with in the past. Students have taken out loans from them, and there's a place where you kind of compare them all against each other so you can pick which one fits best for you. And so these are just the important links. We put them on this website because we know that was being recorded. So we felt that these were helpful links that you guys might need for to refer back to. And so I'm going to stop sharing my screen and see what kind of questions we have. Do we have any questions? No, looks like they answered them rapid fire.
Yeah, we have a lot of fast fingers on these teams. But we can run through some of these questions that were answered. If you'd like Lindsay to go through and maybe offer your own personal take on them.
Okay, let's see what we got here. So I see there was a question about when to appeal. I'll refer back to so it's called a request for reevaluation, and the process does not start until July 1st. You can contact our office now. We can put that to-do list item on there, but it's really kind of important. The situation is for students who have experienced extreme financial changes. So, you know, it's never a guarantee. So we just want to make sure that that's kind of put forward that it's never a guarantee that the reevaluation will go through, but we do suggest that if you had some change in marital status, unfortunately, death of a parent, those kind of situations, that you contact our office and we can kind of guide you of which form you need to fill out. Scholarship opportunities for first-year students. So those notifications did go out to students who qualified early. I would say early February, March is kind of, you get those when you get accepted if you were eligible. But I do suggest students that on our homepage, we have a scholarship link. There's a link that says undergraduate, and then there are scholarships that students can apply for. So while most of those deadlines have passed, I advise that you take a look to see which scholarships kind of fit you and you feel that you're interested in, and then kind of look to see what those requirements are and see if you can kind of mold yourself so you fit that criteria. So starting in like December, January, you're going to go back to that application and complete it and submit it by the deadline and see for the next academic year. And then as far as our social media page, so we have Facebook, Instagram, Pinterest. I think we even have a blog. We do post we get external scholarship requests or external scholarships. We do post them there. So keep in touch with those. If you like us on those social media websites, you can see different opportunities there as well. And then the last one, as far as external scholarships, if you are familiar with FastWeb, that's like the scholarship search engine. You can take a look there. The only thing I just warn students about is they will flood your email address. So you want to make sure that either you are setting up a separate email address to have them flood, and then you can, when you apply, you can use your one that you check on a more regular basis. And then also remember, when you're applying for scholarships, you should not have to pay for that scholarship, nor should you be sharing your social security number. Financial aid for international students, we have a section of our webpage that we suggest the international students take a look there. It kind of breaks down what they are eligible for as far as any external scholarships. Unfortunately, they're not eligible for any of the federal aid. So we advise taking a look there because we've kind of put the resources there for them to take a look at. What do we do? Oh, for the STEM scholarship. So that is through HESC. So HESC stands for the Higher Education Services Corporation. That is New York State. They do the TAP award, they do the STEM award, they do Excelsior. And so those notifications do come down from their office. And so if you meet the criteria for those awards, they will send us the information and will get posted to your account. I will say, as far as Excelsior and as far as STEM, those notifications do tend to come later in the summer. So just keep in touch with anything that HESC is sending you. One of the biggest things for Excelsior, remember, it is a contract that has to be signed. And so we will not get any notification until that contract is signed. So please make sure you're touching base with HESC to make sure all those documents are received. Let's see. A lot of questions. Did I get them all? I think I got them all.
I think you did a great job. That was a lot of info. So any other questions that are coming through from students, we'll make sure that we're able to get those answered, get them to the right people. I know we have some questions about the payment plan coming through. I don't know, Eric, if you would like to pop back on and answer live any questions related to student financial services. I know there's been some questions about that.
Yes, I am responding. I would like to add that if anyone is paying with a 529, usually we get questions about 529 payments, but none came in today. If you're paying with a 529, it's really important that you contact your provider early. It typically takes about 5 to 10 business days for a 529 provider to get a call from you, issue a check, and get it mailed. If you pay with a 529, they will give you a receipt number. The receipt number does not mean that we're going to get your payment in my office. It's not going to prevent us from assigning a hold or a late fee to your account. So we need the physical check in our hand by the 15th in order to not assess a late fee to your account or a hold for later semesters, things like that. So contact them early. They need 5 to 10 business days. The payment plan in terms of months, if you sign up before August 15th, it's 4 installments due August, September, October, November 15th. If you sign up after August 15th, it's 3 installments due September, October, November 15th. It's a $50 non-refundable fee. And if you miss a payment, you will be removed, which means you'll be subject to late fees and holds. You cannot schedule reoccurring payments. We usually have to tell a few people this every year. So you'll need to go in to your solar account and make a payment every month before the 15th due date.
A lot of quality info coming through. I know one thing that I was curious about that I'm hopeful one of you can take is a little bit more about federal work study and how that operates at Stony Brook.
Yeah, so with federal work, so as I did mention, so that's considered campus-based funding. And so our funding is extremely limited. And so we obviously can't offer it to all of our students. If it was put on the student's award letter, it's basically, it's money that you earn. And so you touch base with the Career Center. They have something called Handshake where students can go on and look for jobs. The department hires you and then you just get paid as a biweekly paycheck. I will say that, so a lot of students, it won't show as anticipated aid. It does not show up on your bill. It's a biweekly paycheck that you get, and then what you choose to use, pay it. That's how you do it. For students who did not get federal work study, we get that question a lot. Same thing, check with Career Center, check on Handshake, and you would be looking for positions known as student assistant type positions. And those are basically the only difference between the two is one is being paid through federal funds and the other one is strictly through the department funds. So that's the only difference.
Awesome, thank you. Looks like all of our questions have been answered in the Q&A. Oh, we have more coming in. Do you have to pay for the full year? Can you pay for each semester when on their payment plans?
So the answer about the full year is you cannot pay for the full year. You have to pay by semester. We get a handful of students every year who want to prepay for fall and spring and the early fall. You are billed per semester. So the bill you're going to get is only for the fall. It is not the spring included. Let's see. The other is Excelsior.
Yeah, I was like, I can answer. I was actually trying to find on our website. We have a really neat, as far as determining what aid, like the amount that it's going to be. It's really important to remember that Excelsior is just tuition. So it's not including fees. It's not including room and board. And so if you happen to be a recipient of the TAP or a recipient of Pell, they count that first. And so we have on our website, do you mind if I share my screen again? I just think it's a little more helpful. On our website, we do have a whole section for Excelsior, and there's a link on there to see examples of awarding. And so one of the things to notice is that, this is the 16-17, based on the 16-17 rate. So this is the Excelsior total amount that it could be. Basically, you notice here the student doesn't have Pell, they don't have TAP, they don't have any other external awards. And so it talks about their Excelsior scholarship, and then they get the Excelsior tuition scholarship. For someone who may be receiving a partial scholarship, you'll notice here, they start with the 3235 minus the Pell, minus the TAP. Any SBU scholarships gives them an Excelsior dollar amount of 135. So you can kind of calculate it that way to get an idea of what your Excelsior award is going to be. One thing that we do suggest is that if you do apply for Excelsior, go ahead and apply for it. If you don't get a dollar amount, you're not held to the contract that you sign. It's only for the when you receive an actual dollar amount. So we tell students, in case you lose your scholarship or you lose your TAP, Excelsior may be able to pick those up if you happen to lose those. So we do suggest to still apply for it if you'd like.
So some other questions that have come through: can you pay by debit card if you don't have a credit card? Yes, both are accepted, as well as e-checks. Invoices are sent out to your Stony Brook emails around mid-July. Let's see, if you take out loans and overpay, do you get the money back? Yes, you will receive a refund, and then you can reduce your loans by contacting financial aid directly.
I can answer the question about the Excelsior. The funds do come directly to the school. It will show as anticipated aid on your account once it's been determined. So while the funds themselves may not come until the end of the semester, they will show as anticipated aid. But as I mentioned, or I should say, as Eric had mentioned as well, it is a tricky scholarship. And so there's a lot of moving parts behind the scene as far as getting it posted to the account. So while the application opened, the deadline is not until August 31st. So just be mindful that they have to send us the information. There's a couple of other verification that has to happen before the award can actually get posted as anticipated aid. So just be mindful of those. But if there's any kind of issue or delay, we definitely would notify students via communication.
So the question about $5,000 tuition for the semester or the year, that is the semester. However, it's not just tuition. The tuition rates are $35.35 and the fees are, somewhere around $1,500 total. I included a link to the tuition and fee per credit rates. So the rate pages are for the prior year, which is 2020 and 2021. With the spring 21 semester being the conclusion of that year, we get the approved tuition and fee rates for the next year, usually towards the end of June. So the web page, the tuition and fees web page will be updated towards the end of June, and the heading will change. It'll say 2021, 2022 rates, and you can click on your status as an undergraduate student and see the detailed charges. When can we know the exact number of tuition? It's going to be late June, hopefully. We wait on the Board of Trustees, the SUNY Board of Trustees, to approve the rates, and we send them out. So I'm just going to include a link here in that answer, and that goes straight to our tuition and fees page.
Yes, so you have what's called a cost per attendance. One of the questions was, if we don't have any tuition to pay because grants and scholarships, can we still take the federal loan out for other expenses? Yes, you can. So on your solar account, you do have what's called the cost of attendance. You just can't take out loans exceeding that, but absolutely you can.
Well, this has certainly been an active Q&A. I'm really glad that all of our participants are here today to get their questions answered. We have amazing experts. We've answered about 40 questions so far. Wow. So what else is on everyone's minds?
Since it was asked in the chat and not in the Q&A, we don't charge a fee for paying by credit card. So get all of the points and frequent flyer miles you want. There's no additional fee for paying by credit card.
Fantastic. That's good news. What about for our students on here? Do you have any other experiences with student financial services, financial aid to hype up for our incoming Seawolves? That's pretty straightforward. Well, thank you to everyone for joining us today. Oh, we have more coming in. Yes, right as we're wrapping up.
So I'll jump in and answer live the question about the 15th due date and the STEM incentive scholarship. STEM can get really complicated because of the timing of it. So you're on the right track by asking the question. I think it's just better to email studentbilling@stonybrook.edu. And what's going to happen is that the person answering that email is going to involve a whole bunch of other people who need to be aware of it, which may or may not include financial aid and other people within student financial services. So the STEM scholarship can be a bit tricky. Reach out to us with your student ID number, and then we'll do what we can. Can aid help pay for room and board? Absolutely.
Absolutely. So many of our students, they would have you can look into the Parent Plus loan, private loans to help with those costs.
And can room and board be paid monthly or have to be paid by semester? The answer is it is either or. Depends on if you're in the time option payment plan. So your student bill will reflect your tuition, your fees, your housing, your meal plan, which is room and board. It's all lumped into one sum that you'll have to pay. You can pay it all by the due date. That is on your billing notification email, or you sign up for the time option payment plan, which cuts it up into 3 or 4 equal installments. I send my in-state tuition in May 13th, but I didn't get approved until today. I'm not sure where you're going with that. I think it might have been your tuition deposit or your application that stating that you are a New York State resident. Since you haven't been billed yet, the bills are live. So if there's any change, it will adjust automatically. If I didn't answer your question, I'm sorry. You can email studentbilling@stonybrook.edu and we'll give you a really detailed response. Is the semester tuition full amount due by the due date, or does Stony Brook allow monthly payments? Again, it depends on if you're in the time option payment plan. If you're not in the payment plan, if you didn't pay the $50 enrollment fee to be in the time option payment plan, it is all due by the due date. Otherwise, you can join TOP and then it's cut into monthly installments.
The Excelsior Scholarship, is it paid by the entire, so it's a term at a time. So you'll have an Excelsior Award for the fall, and then you have requirements that you have to meet at the end of the fall. And then for the spring semester, same thing, there are requirements that you have to be meeting at the end of each semester and academic year to be eligible for the Excelsior Scholarship. We do advise that if you have very specific questions regarding the Excelsior Scholarship to email us, and just like Eric said, we'll involve other offices that need to be involved because it is, as mentioned, tricky. There are a lot of behind the scenes. So if you have those questions, let us know and we can kind of guide you in the right direction.
All right. Well, like Eric and Lindsay shared their contact info going forward, if and when you think of questions right after this is over. Is it too late to pay the $50 fee to have TOPP?
No, it's not too late. You would pay the $50 enrollment fee when you get your billing notification email. You physically cannot pay the $50 fee yet. We haven't sent you a bill.
So you're right on schedule. All good. Okay, so it looks like we're getting ready to wrap up then. As soon as I say it, every time everyone's like, no, here's my final question.
So the exact amount of tuition will come out in late June. Yes, assuming the Board of Trustees approves the rates. Again, we're planning on issuing the first fall invoice around July 15th, but we will be updating the rates on the website when we have approval to do so. What is TOP? That's the time option payment plan. And then how does one get a full ride? I don't know. I don't know if anyone can answer that question. Last call for questions, I guess. The installments are equal installments. The $50 is not part of the tuition deposit. The $50 is the enrollment fee, non-refundable enrollment fee for joining in the time option payment plan. And they are all equal installments. So you will pay your tuition by the due date that is included in your billing notification email that will be sent out right around July 12th. The $50 fee is not mandatory. Enrolling in the time option payment plan is a completely optional choice for you to make if you want to divide your bill into equal installments.
All right, I think that we covered just about everything that we could. Thank you again for the phenomenal participation from our students, family, supporters at home, as well as our incredible staff here at SBU. We are thrilled that you are joining our Seawolves community. And if and when you come up with more questions, you know how to reach these two amazing offices. Please continue to join in our virtual Q&As throughout the summer to get the rest of your questions answered and help you make that smooth transition. And have a great rest of your day, y'all. Thanks for being here.